Temperatures are causing serious disruption for travellers this morning, particularly in the south of England.
Yes, national highways are urging people not to drive unless it's absolutely essential, while Stansted and Gatwick airports suspended many flights.
Met Office yellow warnings are in place across many parts of the UK, with temperatures expected to remain well below freezing, as Aruna Iyengar reports.
If strikes and the cost of fuel wasn't enough, there's a new challenge this winter. Snow, ice and fog affecting roads right across the UK. Kent bore the brunt last night. This was the M20. And the going was slow on the M21, with large tree branches falling into the carriageway. Around London, parts of the M25 came to a standstill. National Highways urged drivers in the southeast not to travel unless it was essential. 10 centimetres of snow was forecast for the region. And in Cornwall, people were advised against all but essential travel. Looking to this week, the AA says driving conditions are treacherous and that drivers need to adapt to winter conditions. It gave this advice.
The first thing any driver should do before they set out is make sure that they clean the entirety of their windscreen. We don't want people driving around like tank commanders with just a little Lego box peek through of the windscreen. They need to make sure they clear all that ice and indeed any snow as well off their car. And then they need to drive to the conditions.
At the airports, no hopes of a safari getaway here. This was Heathrow Airport, where flights have been cancelled or delayed. At Stansted, all flights were suspended after it was forced to close its runway. Passengers are being advised to check with their airline before travelling to the airport. Expect delays also on the rail network. It's touch and go whether there'll be a full service. Newspaper deliveries may also be delayed. It'll be tough going all week on all forms of transport, according to weather forecasters. Aruna Iyengar, BBC News.
Well, the bad weather is also having a huge impact on the airports. We're joined now by the Independent's travel correspondent Simon Calder, who is outside Heathrow. And actually, Simon, I'm going to start with some news that we just had in the last few minutes from South Eastern Railways. They're saying to passengers, South Eastern are advising passengers not to travel this morning as a result of severe disruption, to allow Network Rail to check that the rails are clear of snow and ice. So we can see the weather affecting all forms of transport now.
Yes, that's definitely the case. This is the company that runs trains from Kent into London. They're having particular problems on the network where they have a third rail power supply. Problems with icing up there. As you say, they're saying if you don't have to travel this morning, please don't try, because basically almost all the lines are gummed up. That's, I think, going to be repeated elsewhere in southeast England, so please check in advance. But of course, there's lots of people trying to make journeys today on the trains, because as from tomorrow, the national rail strikes begin again. So it's going to be, I'm afraid, a difficult time. As you can hear, flights are taking off from Heathrow, but not nearly as many as we'd hoped. I'm counting around about 80 cancellations to and from the airport, mostly on British Airways, but also on airlines such as Aer Lingus and Iberia of Spain. Looking at the other airports, it's pretty grim, I'm afraid, for anybody travelling today. Gatwick Airport has got dozens of cancellations, mostly on EasyJet, but also on Wizz Air and on British Airways. Luton Airport, about a dozen cancellations for round trips on both EasyJet and on Wizz Air. Stansted, which had massive problems last night, and there's thousands of people waking up where they didn't want to be because their flights were diverted as far afield as Brussels. Well, that has now reopened, but with a significant number of cancellations. And London City, which is the Docklands airport for the capital, well, I'm afraid pretty much everything seems to have been wiped out this morning. But of course, do check, you might be in luck.
You never know. Simon, thank you very much indeed. That's Simon Calder.